Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us, Joe DiGenova, DiGenova and Tensing law firm, former, of course, U.S. prosecutor. And Joe, Michael Cohen and the saga of him, he's apparently saying he fears for his life because the president has invoked his family and his relatives, has implied that they're in some type of legal trouble. What of this?
Well, this is par for Michael Cohen's course. He is, of course, a liar, a convicted liar. He is a tax evader of millions of dollars in federal and New York state taxes. He has every reason to fabricate any testimony, and he also has reasons to not testify before coming. And here's what's going to happen. Ultimately, apparently, Congressman Cummings, who is a lawyer and the chairman of a committee, doesn't realize that Mr. Cohen can take the fifth and tell him nothing. This is rather bizarre. I mean, if I were Michael Cohen's lawyer, which I'm not, I know he has a fabulist for a lawyer, Lanny Davis.
Oh, God.
But the bottom line is this. There's something called the Fifth Amendment, and that's probably what Mr. Cohen's going to end up doing.
Well, again, Elijah Cummings, it was very, very adamant that this is going to happen. And other Democrats were on television this morning, urging that there be an investigation of witness tampering and perhaps obstruction of justice or something like that against the president because of the president and Rudy Giuliani's comments about Cohen's family.
He should give information maybe on his father-in-law, because that's the one that people want to look at, because where does that money? That's the money in the family. And I guess he didn't want to talk about his father-in-law. He's trying to get his sentence reduced. So it's pretty sad. It's weak, and it's very sad to watch a thing like that. I couldn't care less.
Was it smart for him to talk about Cohen's family at all?
Well, first of all, anytime you talk publicly about someone, making that into a threat case or an obstruction case or an interfering with a witness case is an impossibility. What I might do as a lawyer and what a non-lawyer might do in the case of the president are entirely two different things. The president is a counterpuncher. He is a fighter. The Democrats in the House have announced that they're going to impeach him. And they're going to investigate his family, all of his businesses, his campaign, everything, his inaugural committee, everything he has ever done. Under those circumstances, if you don't fight back, you end up getting killed. And by the way, apropos of your comment about the Republicans, they lost the House because they didn't fight. They lost the House because they had a speaker in Paul Ryan who would not allow proper investigations, would not allow subpoenas, and his handmaiden, Kevin McCarthy, is now the minority leader. Good luck, Republicans.
Well, I think that the problem is that the Democrats think that there's blood in the water. When they won the House, they have the reins of power in the House. They have a lot of really, really motivated freshman Democrat congressmen and women who will pretty much say anything and do anything to get on the cover of Vanity Fair or Hollywood Reporter, and they get backup from the media. So they get an enormous amount of cover from the media and the entertainment industry to advance their cause as the cool, just, moral cause for young people, which for right now, Joe, I don't see a really strong Republican answer beyond Trump's policies, which obviously are working. But where's the juice on the Republican side to fight back against the AOC-ization of the Democrat Party? I mean, where's our Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, meaning energetic, young bomb thrower? Like, we need those bomb throwers.
Yeah, I think the situation for the president is going to be very, very painful. There's going to be a lot of accusations. There are going to be committee hearings. It's going to be very ugly. We do not have a very deep bench with regard to people who are articulate, know the law, can fight back. Our people are pretty bad. A lot of the people in the Freedom Caucus are superb. They're excellent. Jim Jordan is great. Mr. Meadows, others. Ratcliffe is fantastic from Texas. But the truth is, when you have subpoena power, which the Democrats have now, you can make a lot of noise, you can cause a lot of trouble, and that's precisely what's going to happen. And that's why we are advising people who call us, take the fifth. Don't give them anything. Just take the fifth, just the way the Obama people did during all the investigations on the Hill. Just take the fifth. Invoke executive privilege, make them litigate, make them have to go get immunity, whatever it is. But you just can't cooperate with them. But, who knows what people are going to do.
Yeah, well, I know even Alex Azar is the secretary of HHS. They want to haul him up to berate him about this child separation deal. Well, look, that was Jeff Sessions' response to the border crisis, and it wasn't coordinated well, as we all know now. So he's just not going. It's like, make me come. Like, I mean, when it's this toxic, when you're called a racist for wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat, I don't really see the point in administration officials going up there and submitting themselves to these questions. I mean, are they obligated to do that?
Well, they're not obligated to go. If they are subpoenaed, they can attend and refuse to answer questions based on various privileges and things. And if they were referred for contempt, it'll go to the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia, and I assume they'll do exactly what the U.S. Attorney in the Obama administration did when they got contempt referrals. They will do nothing. It's the most important thing is not to give them anything. This is war. It's total war. They said they're going to impeach the president. I expect them to, by the way. I expect them to have a vote on impeachment before the 2020 election. I have no doubt about it. That's where they're headed. They've lied before about what their intentions are. They're lying now. They did during the campaign. They said they weren't going to pursue impeachment. Of course they're going to pursue impeachment. They're going to have a vote, and it's going to proceed. This is going to be a hellish 2 years before the next election.
What about the judges issue? I saw that they renominated a bunch of the judges from the last congressional term, and they announced a list of 51, 52 federal judges, including the district court judges, a few judges for the Ninth Circuit, which is obviously the most liberal in the country. The president's very frustrated about the blue slip process, which means that Democrats traditionally, the opposite party gets to okay or give tacit approval to district court judges in their state, and to some extent it's been used even with appellate court judges. Do you think that given how toxic the situation is and how resistant they are to working with Trump, that they should do away with that and even do away with things like the 60-vote threshold? Well,
I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to do away with the blue slip process because of abuse. Lindsey Graham has made it very clear that he expects them, quote, to behave, end quote. I think he will eventually lose his temper. I think the blue slip process, which, as you know, was being to be whittled away by Grassley at the end,
right?
They're going to occasionally suspend the rules of the committee in order to get votes. So I must say, I think we're headed toward Armageddon in the Senate. And, they don't need 60 votes for appellate judges and for anybody anymore. So
no,
we're
just
covered.
For Supreme Court. No, just for the Supreme Court. Not for the Supreme Court. They don't need it for legislation. Yeah. No, I'm talking about legislation, just important pieces of legislation.
God. Yeah, I don't think McConnell wants to be remembered as the person who took away the 60 vote. I think he's too much of an institutionalist. And by the way, I'm not going to be critical of him for that, because what he did on the Supreme Court got fabulous. 2 members of that court. And to me, Donald Trump's election was about one thing: the Supreme Court. He's 2 out of 2, and he's going to get a 3rd before the next election. She's not going to make it.
No. Well, I think that, again, the Democrats have poisoned the well, poisoned the process, and the president knew, and this is where his instincts are so good, and when he doesn't, for some reason he pulls back on his natural instincts, which was to not sign that omnibus last spring. Remember when Paul Ryan's like, no, you can't shut down the government. He's like, where's the money for the darn wall? And they told him, both McConnell and Ryan promised the president that he was going to get his $25 billion. Promised. And he never, of course, they didn't deliver. So the president was snookered by them.
Yeah, Ryan, I have a great difficulty talking about him because I believe he is a fundamentally dishonest leader. I think he harmed the party greatly, and I want to reiterate to the listeners, the reason Benghazi and other things failed miserably, besides the flake out by Gowdy, was that Ryan refused to allow Goodlatte and Gowdy and others issue subpoenas in a timely fashion. He is personally responsible for the failure of House oversight, 100%.
No, and we wouldn't be in this situation if they had actually, if Ryan had actually taken up this issue of badly needed immigration enforcement and reform in the first 100 days.
Correct.
They should have rammed this through in the first 100 days. Rammed it, asylum reform, the chain migration. This stuff should have been done. But the president, I got to say, he was not well served even by his White House staff on this. They did not. Grace drives me crazy. They did not serve him well. That wall should have been funded. They should have done the asylum reform. They should have ended chain migration. They should have done immediate border turnback. If they had done that, oh my gosh, the whole world would look different today. Whole world.
And they would have kept the House.
Absolutely.
They would have kept the House. And that's because Ryan doesn't understand what this presidency was and is about. He fought it every way. He is an unbelievable never-Trumper. His speakership will go down in history, in my personal book, as a disaster.
No, it's absolutely shocking at every level. Joe, before we let you go, do you see that right now the president, his team at the White House, do they have the policy strategy, the chops to work with this divided Congress to actually move any significant legislation, or is this just going to be resistance mode for the next 2 years?
I don't know the answer to that question. There's a lot of transition going on. We have a new White House counsel. He's going to be inundated with subpoenas and other things. I hope he has the staff to do it properly. Barr won't be voted on until February, which I just don't understand why that's taking so long. I'm hoping that things will change with the new Attorney General, but the truth is, we're in a civil war in this country. Both on the Hill and in the country. All you have to do is look at Covington, Kentucky problem. We are in a civil war. This is going to be an ugly period. The leftists over 60 years have taken over education, politics, and everything. Conservatives didn't fight enough. And now we have a great president, a wonderful president, phenomenal instincts, and we don't have the troops to help him, and it's a disgrace. Republicans should all be ashamed of themselves.
No. Joe DiGenova, we'll see you on TV soon. Thank you so much for your analysis, as always.